Monte with the ball on top of the logo, flutes it up top to Nowitzki, hands it back to Monte, quick drive on Klay Thompson, pass to the rim, blocked by O'Neal, took it out of the air, hand off to Curry, down to 10 seconds, Curry dribbles by Calderon left wing, takes it left sideline, Curry now down to 5 seconds, gotta go, crossover dribble left side, step back jumper on the way, good, Curry! 0.1 to go in the game. Steph Curry is amazing. He's a magician, and he has won the game for the Golden State Warriors, 122 to 120.
We're going to bring y'all into our huddle.
Today's Thursday, April 3rd, 2014, and you are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram, and with me as always, my boy and producer Scott.
Scott here.
Scott, are you fired up for today's episode or what?
I'm fired up to talk about Dick Bogut breaking Cal Ripken's streak.
Jesus.
An NBA referee breaking Cal Ripken's streak.
I think that there is probably one person on earth out there fired up to talk about a referee streak, and I am so proud to be sharing a podcast with him. Who knows if we'll get to it, but at least we got to announce it. That said, the Warriors are in one of the tightest playoff races the Western Conference has ever seen. I don't know how Dick Bogut actually factors into that, but nonetheless, we got big things to talk about, man. In the Warriors Update, we'll go through the three largest storylines of the last few games, and I have another embarrassing admission from my exceptionally drunken adventure at the Memphis Warrior game last week. And then in a return to housekeeping, a segment we haven't had a chance to do for a while, we're going to own up to a few omissions that we missed out on last week. And I'm going to give you a little bit of on your possibly hoarder tendencies. But before we get there, a very quick house note. Uber, you guys know how I feel. I'll make this one a fast one. Download this app because if you're looking for a cab, but you don't want to go through the drama to find it or the money to pay for it, if you got that app, all you got to do is press a button and they come to you. Scotty, off to you for the promo code, buddy.
Still got the promo code. Enter Huddle when you first sign up on the app. You'll get $30 off your first ride. Good deal.
Very good deal. I was at a wedding last week. My boy had to go all the way back from SF to the North Bay. I don't know really what that means, but it sounded like it was pretty far. He signed himself up for Uber. I gave him the promo code, got all the way out there, almost free. So try to take that exact same track if you're out there and you need a ride somewhere. Let's jump in, man. Past scores, current standings, 1, 2, 3, 4 games since the last time we were under the mics. 193 win over Memphis at home, an 89-84 loss to the Burger Knicks. Just another step in the wrong direction for a team looking to establish dominance over sub-500 teams. And then a 122-120 overtime win against Dallas in just a huge, huge game. And finally, a 111-90 loss to San Antonio, who was nice enough to actually play their starters and beat us for, the 35th, 36,000th time in San Antonio, at least during the regular season. We're now 46-29, 6th in the West, only 2.5 games behind Portland for 5th, but perhaps more importantly, certainly more distressing, we're only 2 games ahead of Memphis, Dallas, and Phoenix, who are all tied for 7th. Put differently, Scotty, we are 3 losses away from missing the playoffs entirely. Now, ESPN runs this thing, John Hollinger's playoff odds. Have you ever seen that thing?
No, I didn't know John Hollinger was still connected with ESPN.
So I guess before he left for Memphis, he put together some kind of algorithm. God knows how the hell it works, but ESPN uses it every year. If you go onto the NBA page, and they break down after every single game the team's odds of making the playoffs. According to Hollinger's odds, we have 100% chance of making the playoffs. Now, I don't know if I have that type of confidence. I've asked you this kind of pressingly the last couple times, but I want your real opinion. Right now, do the Warriors make the playoffs?
Yes.
Okay, and where do we stay? 6th place, 7th? Where do we end up?
I think they stay 6th because although you're obviously only one losing streak away from falling out, so are these other teams, and the Warriors are going to put together enough wins to make them playoff eligible.
Right. I agree for a couple of reasons. One, the urgency they're finally showing. I mean, losing to San Antonio sucked, but you kind of knew that was going to happen.
It was back-to-back.
And it's just against that goddamn team. Even Mark Jackson seemed to know it. He sat Andre Iguodala in a game that otherwise would have been a must-win. But they did break out that Dallas one, which is what they needed. So they seemed to respond when they needed it. And probably more important, 7 games left. 6 of those are against sub-500 teams. You'll remember when we talked to Rusty. He threw out, I think they're going to win the last 7 games. We're now in that 7-game stretch. I don't know if we're going to see all 7, but the rest of these teams are burger enough where hopefully we'll be able to keep that 6th seed. And I think it's important, man. We stay at 6th. We're playing the clip, right?
Yeah, I mean, if playoffs started today.
Right, and I don't think we have a shot on earth against San Antonio. I think a Thunder series would be entertaining but difficult. The Clippers, not easy, but doable. So I think it's important we stay there, right?
Although, gosh, can you imagine moving up and one spot and getting to play Houston?
Yeah, it's just right there. Although, can you imagine how hard I will take an entire series against Chandler Parsons? I mean, who knows how much hair I'll lose over just sheer hatred from watching his smug, filthy face. All right, well, one last logistical point. You know it's coming. Mark with the C. Stein. He kept us at 8th. Didn't move us up, didn't move us down. The only thing he did do is put San Antonio as the number 1 team in the league for the 2nd straight week before the storylines within the Warriors. Do you view San Antonio as the best team in the league?
Right now they are.
I mean, but do you think, like, when you think championship, do you think to yourself San Antonio is going to be the Western Conference representative?
They've convinced me with this past win streak that they are really. I believe in them now. I didn't until this streak, but at the same time, they've had streaks like this every single year.
Right.
And they fall apart in the
I have
playoffs.
some kind of weird split personality when it comes to San Antonio. I'm constantly singing their praises. They won 19 straight. I always think they're going to be phenomenal. I know that they own the Warriors. And when I think championship-wise, they don't enter the picture. I'm still thinking Thunder or Heat or Indiana. For whatever reason, I don't credit these guys. And I don't know if it's because of their age, because of my stupidity, which is definitely a possibility. But it's weird. You know, I don't view them as this upper echelon team, even though Mark with the C-9 does. Okay, so today, much like we have over the last few, instead of going through the ins and outs of every single game, let's talk storylines. I have a few. I'm sure I'll bleed into some stat lines, and I'm sure I can count on you for busting me out if and when I actually do that. First storyline I want to talk about, man, is that game against Dallas, more specifically the ending sequence. I mean, this was an absolute, positively must-win game, and it was tied with about 20 seconds left in overtime on the road. Dallas has the ball. Monte drives to the rim, and Jermaine O'Neal not only blocks the ball, but cuffs that comes down and hands it off to Steph. Now, before we go any further on the play, did you see that?
Yeah. God, I mean, this was an amazing game.
Goaltending? I mean, what did you think of that shot?
I mean, I don't know. It was shown live, and they never showed the replay. Yeah. So I never got a chance to actually see it again. I couldn't believe it. I kept sitting there waiting for them to show the replay, but it was not shown because so quickly afterwards, Steph hit that game winner.
Right.
So I don't know.
I was watching it live as well. Definitely thought it was goaltending. I mean, I turned to my friend and said it was goaltending. And then when they didn't show replays, I felt like that really backed that up, like it kind of underlined it. I got a friend who works the video board over for the San Francisco Giants. So they show replays or crowd shots, whatever it is. He's the one who decides to do it. I don't know if this is still true, but I know about 5 years ago he said, look, if there's a close play somewhere and we don't show you a replay, it's because the umps got it wrong. And baseball doesn't like us to rub that in
well,
the face.
And I know they did show during the end of regulation when Klay Thompson drove in and Nowitzki completely fouled him.
Yeah.
And Bob Fitzgerald is going absolutely crazy.
Fat Bob took it pretty hard.
About the fact that was a foul, and they showed that replay
right.
Probably 5 to 8 times.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in this case, you also had the next play that occurred right afterwards. So it made a little sense that they didn't show it.
Could have been a timing issue.
I think watching this live, I didn't think it was a goaltend because I'm not sure that shot really had a chance of going in.
I mean, it looks well. We both know that that's not the standard. It's just if it's on the way down, if it's even remotely close to whether or not going in, if it's on the way down, it's a goaltend. But I'll tell you what.
No, I don't think that's true.
Sure, if it's an off shot,
so a guy can shoot it from say the 3/4 of the length court, and that means nobody can pick it up because they're going to pick it up on the way down, and that'd be a goaltend?
If it's a surefire air ball, can you rebound an air ball as it's on the way down? Absolutely. If a guy shoots it from half court and it's going to hit the backboard or something, it looks like the trajectory is certainly off. But a guy jumps up through the rim, for example, puts his hand through the rim. Well, wait a minute. That's still a goaltend. What you're saying is that it can't be a goaltend. Basket interference. No. It's basket interference if he touches the rim itself. If he goes through the rim and touches it, they will definitely call a goaltend.
And doesn't touch the net?
Doesn't touch the net, right.
So do you think somebody could actually block a shot? Let's say it wasn't coming down, but could actually go through the basket to block a shot.
No, you cannot. That will be called goaltending as well, I believe. Here's what I can tell you for sure, and what I know absolutely. If we were to look up the rules involving goaltending, whether or not the ball was going to go in is not going to be a part of that at all. It will focus only on if the shot was on its way down.
Did you think this shot had any chance of going in?
I don't know. It was goaltended before I could really get a sense. Monte was hot enough where I think it had a shot. I do think it was goaltending. I also think that I'm not alone. This is from the league. They've released an official statement.
I don't trust them.
Quote, upon review at the league office, we have found that a shot taken by Dallas's Monte Ellis with 16 seconds remaining in overtime was on the way down. I'm going to pause there. They didn't say whether or not it was going in. Was on the way down when initially contacted and ruled a block by Golden State's Jermaine O'Neal and should have been ruled a goaltend. The exact trajectory of the ball when touched was impossible to ascertain with the naked eye, and the play was not reviewable. So at least the league office thinks it should have been a goaltend.
Who knows about what the league office thinks? I just never.
What are you talking about? Am I speaking Swahili? We know exactly what they think. I just read exactly what they think about this.
That doesn't mean they're right, though.
That's fair. But talk about burying the lead. After Jermaine O'Neal gets the rock, hands it off to Steph, calmly brings it down, brings the clock all the way down to 1 second, and with 0.1 seconds left, hits a game winner over filthy Jose Calderon's face. What a sweet shot, man.
That was awesome. I mean, a vicious step back. How he had the strength to get the ball to the rim after that much of a step back, it's just beyond me. I mean, that is pure, just incredible shooter.
Superstar.
Still skills right there.
Kid is a superstar. There's no question. And you don't take our word for it. Listen to our boys, Tim Roy, break down both the block and the game winner.
Monte with the ball on top of the logo, flutes it up top to Nowitzki, hands it back to Monte, quick drive on Klay Thompson, pass to the rim, blocked by O'Neal, took it out of the air, hand off to Curry, down to 10 seconds, Curry dribbles by Calderon left wing, takes it left sideline, Curry now down to 5 seconds, gotta go, crossover dribble left side, step back jumper on the way, good, Curry! 0.1 to go in the game. Steph Curry is amazing. He's a magician, and he has won the game for the Golden State Warriors, 122 to 120.
Your boy Roy got pretty fired up for that one, huh?
You can tell he really loves his team. He's not a broadcaster who tries to stay neutral at all.
A magician, a phrase you don't hear thrown around on the radio too frequently. And you're right, this guy is not objective in any way, shape, or form, which is probably why he is my favorite announcer. He kind of mirrors my unnecessary and over-the-top passion, which I love. Did you see what Steph was doing after he hit the shot? Did you see him screaming at the Dallas fans?
Yeah, screaming, "We out,
we out." I know that you have a lot of pent-up aggression and anger towards Steph's inability to celebrate. What did you think of this one?
Did you see right before he said "we out" though? He did the lift up of the shorts move again along the baseline, and I
didn't see that.
As soon as he hit the shot, I'm like, no. What awkward thing? He starts running on the baseline, grabs his shorts, starts to pull them up again. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Well, I can say I'm a huge fan of the "we out." I really like that. In fact, the day following this win, I tried to work in "we out" into as many conversations as I possibly could. So far, I got into 0, but I wanted to get it in. The pulling up of the shorts, I continue not to understand. That's a really weird celebration. But if that's the only thing that Curry doesn't perfect, if he's a superstar player on a really reasonable contract, and all we have to say about him is that he shouldn't be pulling his shorts up after game winners, I'll take that. You know what I mean?
No, you got to be able to make it on the Huddle's all celebration team as the best celebrators. You were with Kent Bazemore for a number of years. You couldn't have picked up some celebration tips.
No, that's fair. That's fair. If we ever get it on the show, we won't. If we do ever get him on the show, again, we won't. You should absolutely tell him that. I think that'd be really entertaining.
Well, what I was worried most about during that celebration was a potential taunting technical.
Huh.
Because he was going after. I mean, he said it to the baseline fans, then he went over to the fans on the far sideline, started screaming it. Then he kind of sauntered around the middle of the court screaming it. Then he went to the other sideline screaming it. And I was saying he might get a technical here.
I was really hoping to use the word saunter before the end of the podcast, and the fact that you beat me to it is a little bit upsetting. I didn't even think about the possibility of a taunting tech. Thank God they didn't do that, because you're right. He may have gone a little bit over the top. My last thing on this, I watched this game in a bar. Everybody got fairly fired up. Right after Steph hits the shot, someone tries to start up a "Let's Go Warriors" chant. I'm a big fan of cheering in a bar. I understand the players can't hear me, but I like the camaraderie that comes with it. Can we decide that chanting in a bar is just not a good idea?
Was this a Warriors-specific bar?
Not really. I mean, it's in Oakland, so there were definitely Warrior fans there, but it was, there weren't like Warriors pennants up on the walls or anything like that. It just had a couple of Warrior fans in it.
No, that's terrible. That is just terrible.
I agree.
And I'd hate having to be caught up in that awkward thing.
Oh, my God.
And you are a Warriors fan, so for a second maybe you're like, should I join this guy?
Let's say there was 15 people watching. The guy starts it. Maybe 2 people like kind of half-heartedly got in, and he wouldn't give it up. He kept going like 5-6 times, and then finally stopped, and you could tell he was hella pissed. Now he's out on an island, and he hasn't been supported by anybody at all. So memo to anybody out there who wants to do the bar chant, just don't. Everyone doesn't want to feel awkward. We don't want to go through the silent awkwardness that forces on us. Just enjoy the win and move on. No chance. Speaking of moving on, my next thing I was hoping to get your opinion on was the Memphis win, but more specifically, Oracle's role. This is a game I went to. It's also a game I went to with a friend, was just completely hammered at. When the Warriors were down 7 with less than 5 minutes to play, I'll be honest with you, Scotty, I was positive they're going to lose. I am hissing things to my friend, things like, we're completely f***ed now, or we have no chance. Then Oracle stepped up. The entire place stood in union, literally stepped up, showered them with praise, wakes the Warriors up, principally Steph Curry, and they go on a 14-0 run, last 14 points of the game, and ultimately win it by 7, a must-win victory. And it just solidified what I've been saying forever, if not the best Oracle arenas in the top 5 of home court advantages in all of sports. Have you accepted that yet, or are you still fighting me?
I didn't see this particular moment that you're talking about. I was actually in San Diego having one of the best California burritos I've ever had.
It's a pretty specific knowledge right there.
It's like surf and turf burrito. They put the fries in it. I was tracking the score on my phone, so I have no idea what the Oracle crowd did.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, to be fair, on the other end of that, I was looking at my phone at California Burritos, so just so that we could have a very specific thing. Well, I can tell you I was incredibly impressed. This is a topic for another time, but I'm really afraid they're going to lose some of that advantage if they ultimately go to San Francisco and raise the ticket prices the way that we think they will, should they make that move. The other thing that stuck out from the game was Steph Curry's just absolute dominance in it. We already said enough in the last one, so why don't we hear from somebody else? Here's Mark Jackson talking about the win and about Steph Curry.
But we knew exactly what we wanted offensively, and we wanted the ball in our best player's hands. That doesn't mean he shoots the ball, but we wanted to force them to make a decision. And fortunately, he went and got the ball, and the guy's a superstar basketball player and made incredible plays again tonight. Can't say enough about him. The impressive thing is they're up 93-86, everything going their way, and we closed the ball game with a 14-0 run. And Steph was Steph. This is who this team is. Short-handed. We got tailor-made excuses. With guys being hurt and guys being out. And they just battle. If I gotta go with a group, I'm going with this group. I believe in these guys, and this is a big time win. They understand the lights are bright, and the pressure's on, and we embrace it.
Just in case that wasn't enough Steph Curry praise, here is Memphis's coach responding to a question about whether or not they collapsed over the Final 14.
Obviously disappointing to have a game like that where you are up and then have it slip away like that at the end.
Well, I don't know that they slipped away. The kid was the best player on the floor. He's tremendous. So,
insulting that he called him kid, or is that just a term of endearment?
The way he said that one was insulting. That was definitely insulting.
I wanted to wait to see if I should be angry about it until I ran it by you. I mean, he's best player on the floor. He definitely gave him that credit. But, I mean, he knows his name. He could have said Steph, man. I mean, what's up with that?
Well, have you seen this guy? He looks not much older than, 45.
And looks super canned.
Who is he? I don't know.
I have his name in front of me, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Jorger? Dave Jorger? I have no idea. You know what? Let's just call him Kid and call it a day.
Good idea.
I have my moments, big man. All right, next topic for you. This is Bogut's dick injury. About a week ago, Bogut got kneed in the groin by Marc Gasol with about 4 minutes left in the first quarter. Hasn't returned. In fact, isn't even guaranteed to play over this weekend. We're talking over 10 days. Also, he's going to have to get an MRI of the groin. How bad of a penis injury do you need to suffer that you miss 10 days and need an MRI?
That looked really bad. It looked really, really bad. I mean, Marc Gasol is a huge human being.
That's true.
And he came right into that region.
You got some pretty good knee momentum into the old pelvic region there. That was a very ugly knee. Yet and still, I mean, I feel like I've seen like hundreds of random dick punches just through these Sports Illustrated bloopers or through other hilarious sequences where we get to see people get hit in the balls. I don't think I've ever heard of a ball MRI. This is new territory for me.
They want to do medical treatment for everything nowadays. Everyone, too many MRIs being given out. I think, though, if it catches you in the wrong spot, even though we've seen a lot of ball hits in our day, if it catches you in the wrong way, man, ooh.
Is it a sign of how immature I am that even the word balls makes me laugh?
A ball shot will always get a laugh, I think, for eternity.
Classic.
No matter how. It's just a classic. I don't care how mature you are, that will make you laugh.
There's a few things that are guaranteed to make me laugh. Lake Titicaca, every time. Somebody under 5 years old swearing, every time. And getting hit in the balls, every time. Now, jokes aside, there's been a lot of allegations that our boy Bogut is injury prone. And the counterpoint to that is there's just random specific occurrences that are happening. We're not talking about chronic injuries. A penis injury that requires an MRI. Do we add this to the list of things that means his career's ending soon, or just another random occurrence and we can brush it to the side?
He's injury prone. That's a fact now. I just don't know how anyone else can say it. I don't care if it's freak injuries or just regular injuries, if that's a thing.
It pains me to say it. I'm thinking I'm starting to agree with you, and not for the reasons, I mean, just as you put it, I don't know why it is. I don't know why he's prone to have these random occurrences. We can agree with him that, these aren't chronic things. We're not talking about cumulative trauma that leads to knee or back or other awful injuries, but for whatever reason, he's got like a Mr. Bean propensity to find himself in nasty situations that leads to these type of injuries. I'm hoping that's the final one for this year. We've already seen what we are without him, but, if you've got a dick injury that requires an MRI, you are injury prone. I'm just going to throw that out there. All right. Last thing before we move over to housekeeping, this is an embarrassing story. I've mentioned that I went to the Memphis game. I, in fact, even mentioned that I was fairly hammered. I went with my boy Keenan. Great time. Got hammered in the parking lot. Got in a little bit late, maybe about a minute or two into the first quarter, and we sit down. I start looking around, and there's still a couple empty seats, and each one of those empty seats has a sign. I don't remember what it was. Beat Memphis, whatever. I'm slightly bitter that I didn't get one. I'm not a sign guy. You
would want one.
I just want to be included.
I want the choice to figure out whether or not I'm a sign guy.
I'll put it on the floor, but look, I paid for the ticket. I'd like to have an opportunity to have one of these signs. I forget about it by the second quarter. It just is what it is. Don't care. Get up to buy beers. I go. I'm waiting in the line. I'm in this line for, 5-6 minutes. I'm getting towards the front. Keenan finally joins me and says, you know what? Let me help you out with something. Leans over and peels off a sign off my ass. It turns out I was so hammered I didn't even see the damn sign in the seat. Sat down, it molded perfectly to my fat ass, and then followed me out to the beer line. So I am sure there was at least, small estimate, 50 to 100 people who recognized that I was a complete asshole and couldn't even notice that I had cardboard strapped around my waist.
Well, you better bet that it only said beat Memphis.
Yeah, or maybe it actually said this guy's an idiot. Who knows? I mean, what? I don't know because Keenan told it for me and I still didn't have my sign. But
well, you're not a sign guy.
That's factually correct there, man. Okay, let's shoot into some housekeeping before we get out of here. The general idea of this for any new listeners is that Scotty and I screw up all the time, just all the time. I'm sure that happened in this episode. And we use housekeeping to occasionally address some of our shortcomings. Can't cover them all. There's way too many mistakes, but we can at least take a shot at some of them. First one we screwed up was last week we did the all-bat crazy team starring Delonte West. Apparently we missed a few people. We missed out on Andrew Bynum. We missed.
Sorry. Yeah, go through the list and we'll break them down.
Right, well, Bynum we needed, and it was our own intern who pointed it out. If you watch the video, as we're saying, we can't come up with any centers, Filthy Aaron put it up like 5 or 6 times, which he has been doing a phenomenal job on, by the way. And let me also take a quick shot. Scotty, we got 2 interns, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, that was the plan.
Aaron and Laris.
Right.
Okay, Aaron's been phenomenal. Let me just go ahead and say that. Laris, although we've spoken to him a couple times, has not done. Laris, if you're listening to the show, do something, buddy. Give me a call. Get involved. What is happening?
Leave
with
us a
this guy?
sad voicemail.
At least contribute with that, But nonetheless, here are the people we missed: Bynum, J.R. Ryder, and Rasheed Wallace. Obviously, Bynum goes at center. Ryder, what, shooting guard?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Rasheed Wallace at the 3 or 4, depending on where the hell you wanted to play him. All of them deserving?
I don't know about the J.R. Ryder one.
I'm really glad you said that. This was not pre-set up, but I will say, of the 3, he's the only guy I got a story for you on. J.R. Ryder's a local kid. He grew up, I believe, in the East Bay. I know for sure he went to high school at Encinal over there in Alameda. I have a friend who I've known for years, went to high school with, and his mother used to be the principal at Encinal. More specifically, was the principal at Encinal when J.R. Ryder went there. The story on J.R. Ryder was that he stole from his teammates on a frequent basis. Like would go into the locker room, take out that all of them knew that it was happening, but because 1, he was the star, and 2, could snap at any moment, and they're all really afraid of him, they never said anything. Now, let me add the word allegedly to wherever it should fall within that sentence, so we're not getting in any problems. But, I don't know if that shows he's crazy, but at least adds a little understanding to who J.R. Ryder was in high school.
And he did have the name switch situation with the Isaiah
Yeah,
J.R. Ryder.
that's right.
So when you start using different names, that's usually a sign that you might be eligible for the all crazy team. I got to say though, yeah, we definitely missed Rasheed, and I mean, as a Pistons guy, that was a hard one for me to cope with. And then Andrew Bynum. I mean, great call by Aaron there.
Yeah, and with the hair and everything else he's done. I don't know if this is a good time to announce this. I was going to tell you off the air. I guess I'll tell you now. I'm changing my name, Scotty. I'd like to go by Gilbert from here on out. You can go various Gilbert if you want. If you want to go French with it. But from here on out, I will, in fact, be changing my name. Last thing I want to bring up to you is also from last week's episode. It wasn't something we necessarily missed because we did talk about it, but we didn't go into depth. Let me play you this clip.
Still makes me sad. I got this Gilbert Arenas bobblehead at home. For a while, the head fell off. The spring broke or whatever.
Now that's realistic right there,
and
man.
you kept it? The bobblehead fell off and you still own this bobblehead?
Yeah, it was it kind of like went with his career where for a while I kept putting the head back on, and then eventually I'm just like, you know what?
I'm just going to leave the head next to the feet.
This guy's not coming back. It's done.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I do. Just without the head though.
So I'm listening back through that clip last week. When I always hesitate to admit that I listen to us, it makes me sound a little bit pompous, but I do. I absolutely go through. And I realized, I want to make sure I heard it right. You own a Gilbert Arenas bobblehead with no head?
I have the head, but it's just not on the bobblehead.
Why the hell are you holding on to this bobblehead, man? That's a little creep town.
Did my wife put you up to this?
No, why? Is she giving you on it as well?
I mean, because it's been around our house, taking up space for no reason. I think she'd probably enjoy it to not be next to my bedside. But
I mean, I feel like certain things, if it loses a major component, you let it go. If I have a bike and it loses the handlebars, I'm not going to keep it. If I have a phone and it loses the cord or something, I'm not going to keep that. If I have a bobblehead and it loses the head,
I've just always had in my mind that I was going to do something more epic with this thing, like smash it on the ground or I don't know. I don't really know what, but I couldn't bring myself to just put it in the trash. That didn't seem like the right thing to do.
How long ago did it lose its head?
2009.
So we've been waiting about 4 years for this epic thing to transpire?
It's one of those deals. I moved into my house in 2009. I put it down somewhere the first day I moved in.
Hasn't gotten back to it?
It just stayed there.
If we go there, is it going to look like a hoarder's household? There's going to be like 1,000 boxes everywhere. Like, whatever it is, food from 1985, a newspaper from 2001.
Starting lineup, figurines without hands.
Yeah, one with no legs. I mean, are you generally a hoarder or is this just the exception to the rule?
Exception to the rule.
That's
Keep a clean
That
household.
is so disappointing. Also, I don't believe you at all. You've already admitted
You've
to
been
us
to my house.
that you have the comment cards or whatever it is. God knows when you did those. Those were so long ago. You still own them somewhere. So that kind of goes towards the hoarder thing as well, no?
No, I couldn't even find the comic cards because I didn't hoard them.
You hoarded them. You just can't find them.
But no, you're not going to get away with that one. I'm not a hoarder.
All right. Well, that'll be open for debate, probably the subject of a future housekeeping. A quote before we let you guys out of here. This one still comes from the world of Charles Barkley. He was once asked about his 17-year-old daughter not dating yet, and he said, quote, "Thank God. I just hope she doesn't start before I go in the Hall of Fame. That way, I won't have to kill anybody before I get inducted," which I don't have a kid, but if I do have a daughter, I plan on buying a shotgun immediately just so I can be cleaning it when the first boy or girl comes to take her out. You like that progressive take by me there, by the way?
Very good. Actually, I didn't really listen to the thing of that. You're just
I can
going
tell you
so
tune it out.
fast.
Yeah, no. I can tell you kind of looking around the room, which is why I asked for your opinion. Huge fun, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. Please remember that we can be found on Twitter at Warriors Huddle. Our email address is warriorshuddle@gmail.com. You can find us at warriorsworld.net, as well as a bunch of podcasting services, including iTunes, where we'd love it if you wouldn't mind subscribing and dropping us a review. We'd really appreciate it. Like I said, appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll see you next week.
We out.
Shot clock down to 3. Kerr's got nowhere to go. Shumpert's a great defender. Step back 3. Maybe lead the ball.
Good.